In this chapter, we're going to study ancient Greece. So we get to study great guys like Socrates, we get to study Alexander the Great, we get to study the beginning of democracy in Athens, and of course Sparta, which everybody loves from those silly movies. But we're going to start before all of that, way before all of that, with the very first Greek civilizations. Just so you know what you're looking at here in this picture, this over here is Mount Olympus, a mountain in Greece, and this is Greece, right? Greece is right here. You got all these little islands right here. This is the land of Greece that we're going to be talking about. To give you a sense of scale, Greece is about the size of Louisiana, and I showed you that picture of Mount Olympus. There are lots of mountains in Greece. There are lots of mountains. As you can see, there's a lot of Greece is little islands in the Aegean Sea here. And the importance of these mountains and of the sea to Greece is that the communities that arise in Greece are very small and independent. The unifying feature of all these is basically they're speaking the same language, they have the same religion, but just like in Mesopotamia, just like in the Indus Valley civilization, this is not an empire. These are small, sort of independent areas within a larger cultural community. It's got the same religion, the same language, but they're small independent areas. And I'm going to argue that that's because of the mountains and the geographic isolation that a lot of the communities face. And the first of these civilizations is the Minoan Civilization. So this is, again, way, way ancient, way more ancient than Socrates, way more ancient than Sparta and all that stuff. This is a Bronze Age civilization. We call them the Minoans, and they are on the island of Crete, which is this island down here. So the very first Greek civilization we've got that, again, it has cities and these big palaces, and, a civilization starts down here. That's where the whole thing begins. Then the next one, which you can see the years here, so we're getting a little bit later now, are the Mycenaeans, or Mycenae. So that is up, that's up around here in this area here. So that's not on this island, that's up here. And again, this is one of the palaces and stuff that they discovered. So this is a civilized area, and this is the setting for the story/historical event, the Trojan War. The Mycenaeans are like the characters, the kings in that, Achilles and Agamemnon and all these guys, which we'll discuss later. But both the Minoan civilization and the Mycenaean civilization don't last forever, right? They're around for a while. We can see that they're around for a while in the historical record, and then they fade. What do I mean when I say they fade? I mean that, again, we can tell from the historical record that a lot of palaces are abandoned, that for whatever reason, all the organization that went into making the civilization starts to break down. Probably wars, probably natural disasters. These are the kind of things that probably bring these civilizations down. Whatever happened, they rise and then they fall. And after they fall, we find ourselves in the Greek Dark Ages. So this is the time between 1100 and 750 BCE, and we call this the Greek Dark Age. The reason that we call it the Dark Age is few records of the period exist. Beforehand, with the Minoans and the Mycenaeans, we've got a bunch of records. We can put our hands on a bunch of different things that the people did. Afterwards, we can put our hands on lots of things that those people did. Between just the number of records go down, we can tell through various archaeological tricks how many people were alive during the time. We can tell how much food they were making. And again, there's a lot of food being made beforehand, a lot of people beforehand, a lot of food and people afterwards. During this time, for whatever reason, the population goes way down, food production goes way down. So clearly, something happens, sort of makes a bunch of people die, and the population doesn't recover right away. So it's probably a rough time to be alive. It's probably characterized by, less organization, less governmental protection. It's probably a time of sort of, chaos and dreariness, and, you're lucky if you can just get by. So what caused it, again, probably some natural disasters helped out. Add some wars in there that are caused by the fact that natural disasters are making things more scarce. you probably, again, had the Mycenaean civilization get toppled, and then nothing really replaced it for a couple hundred years. So you have, just sort of fighting and sadness and deprivation. So for a while in Greece, you have these dark ages, which are a pretty rough time. And then it's going to be from that we're going to get our Athens and our Sparta and all our neat things. But again, that's for next time. One thing that the Dark Ages does give us today are the writings of Homer, or rather the stories of Homer. So Homer is this ancient poet, and he writes the Iliad and the Odyssey during the Dark Ages. These are both epic poems. Epic poems are long poems that tell the deeds of a great hero. The Iliad is the story of the Trojan War, specifically this one part of the Trojan War that you might be familiar with. It's Achilles is in there. They made a movie about it. It's a very, very, very famous story of brave heroes at war being brave and tough. It's like sort of like an ancient action movie. So it has very much it promotes the qualities of strength and heroism, and the Odyssey is the story of Odysseus and how he gets back to his family. Again, very much a story of brave heroes doing brave things, and that's what the stories are about. They're written then, but they're written about the Mycenaean times. So he's writing them about this golden age that has passed. Now, the reason that I want you to know about these stories is these are super famous, basically for the rest of the course, certainly for the rest of the course in the Western world. So all of the figures we're going to study from here on out, again, at least in Europe, are all going to know these stories, and they're all going to really admire them. So everyone in Athens, everyone in Sparta knew the Iliad and knew the Odyssey, and they thought that that was the way to be, that those were the ideals that they aspired to. And Alexander the Great thinks like, okay, that's, the Iliad and the Odyssey, that's the way to be, that's the best. Really, even up into Rome and on, everyone knows these stories, and everyone holds them up as like the ideal. So I would say a lot of sort of aggressive, warlike behavior you're going to see later, at least some of it stems from the fact that all the world leaders we'll discuss later would have, read Homer when they were young and would have been told by the parents, this is the way to be, fighting and war and glory. So Homer's really sort of sealing in those ideals, or at least perpetuating them. All right, so this is all ancient Greece, and we'll get into slightly less ancient Greece next time.